Hey, it's Jim Fisher, aka The Beat, with This Week Community News. We are again at a Central Ohio high school, checking out their local theatrical and musical productions for the spring. We're at Olentangy High School this week, where David Hines is directing Into the Woods. Thanks for being with us, Mr. Hines.
You're welcome.
Tell us about the pros and cons from your perspective as far as putting that on with a group of high school kids right after a movie like that.
The pros are, it's current in the general public's mind. People are excited about it, and hopefully that'll bring folks into the box office.
Was that some of the thinking in your selecting it?
Part of it, yes.
Okay,
Definitely part of that.
Okay.
Not the whole thing, but
Sure,
part of it.
sure.
Some of the cons are too. People are going to come maybe expecting to see exactly what the movie is, and they actually are. They're similar, but there are different things in the play version than there are in the movie, and so that's kind of a pro and a con right together there.
Okay.
So. And then you always run the risk of having actors want to copy what they see on the screen. And of course, I've steered them away from all of that because I want them to create. I don't want them to recreate what somebody else has done.
I think it's good that we have reference material to go off of, meaning that if we're completely lost in our character, we have a way to kind of look at how one person has interpreted it. But it's also kind of bad because that means that there's kind of a widespread interpretation of what people expect to see. So as actors and as crew and as people who make art, it's our job to kind of interpret a little differently from the movie and give it our own special twist.
Well, you get some of the name brand familiarity, I guess, in there, because this is a popular show among like theater people, but I wouldn't say that it's an enormous hit among general audiences, but the movie certainly did something to bring it more to the forefront.
And I think that's good for us too, because a lot of times when we begin shows, we throw out the title, but most audiences aren't familiar with a lot of the different shows that we do, but so having the name out there and people are like, Into the Woods, I know that, and they're more likely to come see it, but I think they'll be surprised, the audiences will be surprised at how different the musical is in a lot of ways from the movie. The movie had to cut a lot of things and change a lot of things, and we're just going right from the script, so it's a little bit different.
It's basically just a mashup of different fairy tales. You've got Jack and the Beanstalk, Rapunzel, Cinderella, and then it's all woven together with the baker and his wife searching for items to have a child.
Yeah, so the baker and his wife, those are the imaginary characters. Those are the original pieces of this show, and Sondheim uses them to kind of weave together all these fairy tales, and their paths intertwine as they're all on this quest, and they sort of discover new things about themselves as they are lost in the woods.
Of course, there's a witch, which is one of the cool things because everyone thinks the witch is bad, and she really isn't necessarily the worst person. She actually kind of is a good person.
Okay.
And we see the other side of some of these. Like Jack he's a thief. He goes to the giant and he steals his stuff. And Cinderella, she kind of cheats a little bit. She gets help from other parties that she should be doing herself. Okay. So it shows the human side of them, and then there are consequences for our actions. So Act 2 is the after happily ever after.
Okay.
One of the big themes is be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it.
Yeah.
And they do get it, and then it's not really as great as I thought it was going to be. So
The show is a really interesting kind of hodgepodge of kind of really dark imagery. Like there's a point where I cut my daughter's feet off to fit them into Cinderella's slipper, and that's kind of like an example of parts of the show that are kind of like dark and kind of realistic, but it's also got aspects of really bright, fun, overblown costumes and imagery. So it's kind of an interesting clash between like the kind of surreal and abstract and the kind of dark.
And another thing is, when she was saying the part about cutting her daughter's feet off, most of all the fairy tales we were listing, like Rapunzel and Cinderella, they're not based off of the Disney happy ending. They're based off the original Grimm's Brother tales, so everything gets kind of gory, and not everyone gets their happily ever after right away. And at times it is kind of gruesome and shocking and very realistic, and I think that's the most unique thing about this show, because when you hear the title characters, you're like, oh, I know this. This is the Cinderella that sings to birds and, goes to the ball. But then you kind of learn the darker side of the story with all of these characters and aspects. And I think that's one of my favorite things, that it is the original Grimm's Brother tales.
And it's a terrific piece of work by Sondheim, and that obviously would be the rest of the reason why you would have selected the piece.
Absolutely. It's a great piece of literature, very, very well written. It's pithy, it's deep. It's not your boy meets girl, girl meets boy, fall in love, fall out of love, sing about it, dance about it, and go on, and everybody's happy at the end. No, it's not that at all. Lots of great language. Sondheim studied and was mentored by Oscar Hammerstein II. So he gets music, and he gets. Hammerstein was a lyricist. He was a poet. So, and Sondheim has that in him. He was like a father figure for Stephen Sondheim.
Okay.
So he was taken to that, and it really comes out in this show. I get little goosebumps just talking about that.
The counting's all like really difficult, and we've seen it being created like with the pit and the actors all together, and it's taken just like a lot of work from everybody just to be able to count the music and then also add the emotion that will that you need to have with acting also. So
these songs, there are actually points in the songs where different parts of the score that are playing this at the same time are written in different time signatures. So it's kind of hard to meld everything together. But the songs are really catchy and they're fun, and they get in your brain and they just stay there and play over and over again. But they're excellent. They're good songs to have stuck in your head.
I've had Into the Woods stuck in my head for 2 months.
Title song.
Yeah, I'm not sick of it yet, so.
They will sound nice, but rehearsing, you want to get down on your knees and scream, Sondheim!
It is really tricky.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a great show for children, and it's a great show for adults.
Okay.
It's really a fairy tale for adults.
Okay.
The message to the parents and anybody who has either fostered a child or been a parent type, or been in that role, teachers included. It has a great message.
Journey over, all is mended, and it's not just for today, but tomorrow and extended, ever after. All the curses have been ended, the mercies wiped away, all is tenderness and laughter for forever after.